Hey everybody, time for DIY deck stairs, right here on Greenmark Village TV. Basically a few numbers we need to know. We need to know our total rise, which is from the top of our deck to the level of our grade. So that's called the total rise. It may be a little tricky because if you have any grade that goes down, this number here is going to grow. So what we do is we take our tape measure from our patio block or whatever we put in, hold your tape measure up, and then you eyeball across, because this deck is perfectly level. So once you see the perfect balance from the front to the back, that's what the actual number is. Our total rise on this set of stairs is 49.5. The next number we need to know is the individual rise for each tread. Obviously, the tread width, we're using a 2 by 10, so that's 9 1/4. We're giving 1 inch for an overhang, so it feels more natural when you walk. So this is 8 1/4 inches, and our rise is to be determined. So our total rise is 49.5, so we take 49.5 and we divide that by 7. And when you do that, it equals 7.071428, and off it goes. Minus the 7 out of it, so then we can find out what the fraction is after the 7 inches. So the fraction is out of 16ths, so we'll times that by 16 equals 1.428. So we'll round that to 7 1/16. I don't get into the 32nd on a set of deck stairs. When you're working with a deck, it really doesn't matter if you tip your stairs down a little bit. Going the opposite way is more of a problem. So now we have that figured out, it's time to lay out our stairs. Our rise is 7 1/16, so I don't have 16ths on this. And then our run, because we're using a 2 by 10, is 9 1/4, but I always like a 1 inch for overhang, so I'll mark 8 1/4. So those are our 2 points of reference we use when we lay out our stairs. These stairs we're building are a closed stringer stairs. We're using a closed stringer because the style of railing we're putting on, the rails are actually getting screwed right into the side. So what we're doing is we're building our squares and putting blocking underneath, so then we're able to screw our rail right onto the side. When I do that, what I start with, so what I do is I go 1 1/4 inch on the bottom of the stairs. We're going to our 7 1/16, and we're going right on this line that I've made, okay? And then we're gonna find our 8 1/4. So you'll see how I've got that laid out, and then we draw the lines on the in between. The reason I bring this up a little bit instead of going to the bottom is because when I put my block of wood, there's gonna be a block of wood underneath here in the end. Then I get support all the way out to the end, where I wouldn't have support the other way. So anyways, I'll just keep going, lay out the rest of these. So let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then finish the last rise. Up, and I run this line right through, and you'll see why in a second. That's gonna end up getting cut straight through. So all here is going to be waste. This is where all your blocking is gonna go, under each tread. I always just put a little X on it just so I don't forget. Because we're using 2 by 10 on the top, we have to take that into account. So then when we make our first step, it's perfectly at 7 1/16. So because this is perfectly at 1.5 inches, what I do is I just lay that along the top of the first line. You see there, that's the first line there. Line that up, and then my measurement goes from here. So I make a mark at 7 1/16. And then, I don't have enough room on the board, so I'll just run a square line off of the front of the tread here. Sorry, off the front of the riser. That line carries through. And your cutoff is going to be here. Now we don't want to cut it off here because we're going to have the 1 inch nosing. So what I always tell people to do on a set of stairs is just take your square, go right against the front riser, and just make that cut in through there. So then that's your waist there. Simple cut along here and a cut along there. Just like the bottom, we're adding 1.5 inches here to this one. So when we make the cut off at the top to make it run perfectly with our deck, we have to actually add 1.5 inches to this one. So what I do, just like the other one, I go put it right along the top of my tread, 7 1/16. Take this line, square it off here, and that's your cut right there. This will land perfectly with the top of your deck. So good practice is after you cut out your first stringer, before you go and make the second one, take your first stringer, take it out to where you're supposed to, where you're putting your stairs in, and just try it out. So, this is the top, which we cut perfectly with the top. Should be sitting perfectly on the bottom like that, and perfectly along this top. So, make another one. For the second one, just so I don't make a mathematical error, what I do is I just trace my board, get it perfectly flushed up. You get two exactly the same. Make those cuts, and then mark your lines. Okay, once you're done cutting, what you want to do is you want to set them up so they mirror each other. So you put them right up together. Then what you do is you take your square and you mark out everywhere where they join together, where the two steps. So I actually run it right through. And that way you get all your stairs exactly the same. This might be going overkill for a set of deck stairs, but it's a good practice. Once we get that, we notice we've got the 1.25 inch line here. We're gonna do the same thing again on this one. All right, so now we just take our marks. More than likely, you're gonna have to put new marks on your square, because as you can see, this here now is the run of the stair, and this here is the rise. So our run is 8 1/4 and 7 1/16. So I'm working upside down here. Anyways, I'll mark it all out and we'll see it when we're cutting our treads. So if you did your math right, your marks should work out perfectly on your line where the two intersecting marks are. So I move my square and I look, it's about as perfect as it can get. So the next thing you do is you cut blocking for underneath each tread. This block, basically what I did was you can take a 2x4, 2x3 treated and just cut it to the exact width of your tread. Our width is 8 1/4, so that's what I did. I just cut a bunch at 8 1/4 and I just set them up the way I'm gonna put them down. So before we screw our block down, I just wanna emphasize what we're doing. We're using lumber lock. Just put a little bit down before we screw it down. I know I've talked about it before, screws don't have a really high tensile strength, so I always like to use something to back it up. I'm not gonna nail it, so I just put a nice little bead of glue in there, get the screws to cinch her down. Now we got our blocks in. What I have to do is we have to cut the bottom edge off. As you can see, it's sticking down through. So instead of cutting each to the perfect angle and taking all that time to figure it out, I just run a straight edge along it, eyeball, just give a quick cut. Because we made our blocks the perfect width of these, you just flush up to the back of your block, make sure you're nice and tight, and drive your first screw. All right, let's go install these bad boys. So I'm just balancing the stairs on our pad. Our pad's pretty much determining what we're doing. So now it's just a matter of making sure we're flush up here. Pretty much right there. And that's how you build a set of deck stairs in the rain. Make sure you stay tuned. Next time, we're going to show you how to build the handrail that marries all this together. Don't forget to subscribe, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and we'll see you next time on Green Mark Builders TV.